Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Wednesday, the 24th of June. And Prime Ministers unite to back bid. It's a dark winter ahead for Black Caps. Interim Warriors coach names first side. Djordjevic tests positive. NBL goes global. Yes, all sorts of news to make sure that you start your day the best way, up to date with the important sports news here on New Zealand Sports Radio. And let's kick off with that football news over in the English Premiership. Just to keep you up to date, Leicester City and Brighton Hove Albion have fought out a thrilling 0-0 draw. Later this morning, Tottenham Hotspur will be facing West Ham. Also, we're getting ever closer to that bid for the Women's Rugby World Cup hosting in 2023. The vote will take place tomorrow, and we should know early Friday morning, New Zealand time, whether Australia and New Zealand have been selected for that, or whether Colombia have. Jacinda Ardern and I've gone blank. Scott Morrison have worked together and have co-penned a letter to FIFA backing the bid. So it's great to have that political backing for these bids. It's important to have your governments behind you when you're making these kind of bids. Remember, New Zealand received a 4.1 out of 5 compared to a 2.9 out of 5 for Colombia on their technical evaluation. So you've got to say that people are feeling very positive about the bid going forward. It will be the first time that the Women's Football World Cup has been hosted by two countries in different confederations. Australia is part of the Asia Confederation, whereas New Zealand are part of the Oceania Confederation. It also would be the first time it's been held in the Southern Hemisphere as well. So lots of things that it would break, or lots of records it would break if it came about. That's pretty up to date with our football news. So I'm going to hand you over now to Arsene, who's going to bring us up to date with our cricket news.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all our viewers and listeners out there on the interweb. It's a dark winter ahead for the Black Caps. The Black Caps tour of Bangladesh has been postponed, which is a big surprise to everybody concerned. It was due to be played in August and September. There was big to be a two-test series, which would have counted towards the ICC World Test Championship. With COVID-19 cases on the rise in Bangladesh, it was seen as the most prudent move to actually postpone the series. This now means that the Black Caps haven't played any cricket since the three-match ODI series with Australia was called off in March. Obviously, the last game they played was in front of an empty stadium. A tour to Scotland and Ireland was also postponed due to the pandemic. Now, carrying on in more pandemic news, Pakistan can now start its own COVID-19 tally numbers after another 7 players have tested positive for COVID-19. This follows in the footsteps, as reported right here on New Zealand Sport Radio, of 3 players testing positive yesterday. On top of the players' positive test, one member of the support staff has also tested positive. That's the masseuse. The players that have tested negative will now assemble in Lahore later today and then depart on June the 28th for England. Once in England, they'll be training in a biosecure environment where they will be keeping the players together, and obviously they will bring in the affected players once they start to produce negative results. The ECB is shocked by a government move. The ECB is shocked as the government in the UK puts a brake on club cricket. As the ball is a natural vector, these are the words that they're using over there in the government circles, as the ball is a natural vector for the transmission of the disease. Over the weekend, some leagues had already contacted clubs to start preparing pitches and outfields, which had laid dormant all summer. But Boris Johnson, answering a question in the House of Commons, has ruled out cricket's return, despite the fact that it is a sport that lends itself to social distancing, unless you're in the slips. And join me on Swinging from the Hips with Rohit and Taryn as we discuss that and much more with our guest this week, Stephen Nobilo, current chairman of Kumeu Cricket Club, and Aaron Ranchard, former chairman of the Eden Roskill Cricket Club, both here in Auckland. That's right here on New Zealand Sport Radio, Thursday at 8 p.m. New Zealand time for your cricketing fix with Swinging from the Hip. And Paul, that is our cricket news for today.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. Interesting there that's 10 players now out of a squad of 29 that have tested positive. You wonder how big a squad does Pakistan need to take to make sure they end up with a fully well side to actually play. Will we see a 100 player?
It's a classic scenario of all the players coming out of retirement. To be fair, they're actually down to about 19, which is sort of around the normal squad numbers that you would take. So yeah, but it's interesting. That's they have tested negative, but we know that those negative tests can turn positive as well. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so everyone's aware, a negative test doesn't mean you haven't got COVID. It just means they haven't found it. So yeah, nothing in life is 100% effective. And that applies also to the COVID test. Thank you very much, Ashwin, for your cricket update this morning. We're going to hand you over now to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody, this morning on NZ Sport Radio. In birthdays today, a bronze medalist at the 2006 Commonwealth Games, a triathlete that was born in Zimbabwe but represented New Zealand, and finally the youngest ever Grand Prix winner. Mitch Evans, born this day, the 24th of June, 1994, is a motor racing driver from New Zealand. He currently drives for Panasonic Jaguar Racing Team in Formula E. In 2012, he won the GP3 Series and raced in the GP2 Series for 4 years, achieving 14th place in 2013 and 4th in 2014. 5th in 2015 and 12th in 2016. Evans, who celebrates his 26th birthday today, previously won the 2010 and 2011 Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand and was runner-up in the 2010 Australian Drivers' Championship despite missing 3 races. When he won the New Zealand Grand Prix in February 2011, it is believed he became the youngest driver to win an international Grand Prix at 16 years of age. Wow. He won his first Formula E race in the 2019 Rome Eprix event. Moving on, Ryan Sissons, born this day, the 24th of June 1988, is a New Zealand triathlete. Born in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, Sissons represented New Zealand at the 2012 London Olympics in the triathlon, where he finished 33rd. At the 2014 Commonwealth Games, he finished in 13th in the individual event and was part of the New Zealand mixed relay team that finished in 5th. At the 2016 Summer Olympics, he finished in 17th. Sissons celebrates his 32nd birthday today. And finally, Melissa Ingram, born this day, 24th of June, 1985, in Henderson. I happen to be in Henderson, New Zealand, is a retired New Zealand swimmer. She won a bronze medal with Lauren Boyle, Helen Norfolk, and Alison Finch in the 4x200 metre freestyle relay at the 2006 Commonwealth Games. Ingram, who turns 25 today, competed at the 2008 Summer Olympics and the 2012 Summer Olympics. She announced her retirement on the 15th of March 2013. That's birthdays for today. See, Paul, we're quite diverse. We don't just have rugby and rugby league players in our birthdays.
No, we don't. I was wondering, are you popping around for cake this afternoon? Absolutely.
See if she's home.
But we do have rugby news for you today, and let's move on to that now. In sad news, Luke Jacobson has been ruled out for the rest of the season with a metatarsal, a fractured hand injury. Let's talk in plain English and not use these complicated terms. Also, because that's got 5 to 6 weeks. Also, it looks like Tom Robinson will also be out for the rest of the season, the Blues player as well. So already a couple of players unfortunate with injuries, and 2 players, unfortunately, that have been plagued with injuries over the last couple of seasons as well, but two very promising players even at next level up levels. Down in the Highlanders, and it's come to light that this is Mark Hammett's last season with the Highlanders as an assistant coach. He told the CEO and head coach down there at the end of November that this would be his last season with them. He said it was after 4 years, it would be a good time for him to move on. Under normal circumstances, the Highlanders will be looking to replace him, but due to the COVID pandemic's impact on their finances, they've decided that at this stage they will not be looking for a replacement for him. The way that it normally works is that 2 of the coaches are paid for by New Zealand Rugby, and the rest have to be paid for by the franchise. And so Clark Dermody, who normally who until now has been focusing just on the set piece, he will step up into Mark Hammett's position, is the expectation. Also, this weekend, and we have 2 more games in the Super Rugby Aotearoa. Those are Blues versus the Highlanders and Crusaders versus the Chiefs. So already, folks, that game on Saturday has sold a bunch of tickets at Eden Park. So if you want to get along, do get your tickets. Also, this will be the first opportunity for people down in Christchurch to see the Crusaders. And so don't forget, also get your tickets early for that game as well. I'm now going to hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our NRL updates here on New Zealand Sports Radio.
Oh, thank you, Paul, and good morning again, everybody. It's Warriors team naming Tuesday. It was yesterday, so we have the Warriors team. Interim Warriors coach Todd Payten has named his first team to take on the Melbourne Storm this coming Friday night. Kim Maumalo and David Fusitua are set to be reunited on the wings for the first time this year in the Vodafone Warriors 7th round NRL clash against the Melbourne Storm. When they were last in the same lineup in the opening 2 rounds of the season in March, Maumalo was in his customary spot on the left wing, while Fusitua was moved from the right wing to the centres, where he was used numerous times early in his NRL career. He was back on the right wing for the first outing of the revived NRL season against South Sydney last Friday night, scoring the side's opening try and his 61st touchdown. He'll be right there again for his 100th career appearance on Friday night, with Maumalo returning for his 91st match after a hamstring injury ruled him out of last 3 outings against Penrith, North Queensland and South Sydney. Fusitua will become the 24th player to reach the 100-game mark for the Vodafone Warriors, and the first in 5 years since Sean Johnson reached his century against the Sydney Roosters in 2015. The Tongan international is the longest-serving Vodafone Warriors player in this year's squad, having made his NRL debut against St George Illawarra at Eden Park on March the 15th. 2014 seems like a long while ago. While Fusitua eyes his 100th game, centre Peter Hiku, halfback Blake Green, prop Ignatius Pussy will all achieve an identical club milestone when they play their 50th match for the Vodafone Warriors. Aside from Maumalo's comeback, interim Vodafone Warriors head coach Todd Payten has been forced to make other changes in his first match in charge after taking over from the departed Stephen Kearney. Rookie second rower Elasia Katoa has an ankle, and hooker Wayne Egan suspended, are both out, resulting in new signing Jack Murchie replacing Katoa for his first start after 7 interchange appearances. And Carl Lawton is in for Egan at hooker. Coming onto the bench for the first game since the season resumed is Chanel Harris-Tavita, while Asaya Papali is named in the 17 after missing fixtures against the Cowboys and the Rabbitohs. The encounter has been switched from Amy Park to Netstra Nestrata Jubilee Stadium in Sydney following a spike of COVID cases in Melbourne. I'll quickly go through that Warriors team again. From fullback, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, David Fusitua, Peter Hiku, Patrick Herbert, Ken Mamalo, Cody Nikorima, Blake Green. In the forwards, Jermaine Tonoa Brown, Carl Lawton, Lachlan Bird, Jack Murchie, Tohu Harris, Adam Blair. On the interchange, Chanel Harris Tavita, Poasa Famusili, Ignatius Pasi, Asaya Papali. And in the reserves, Jared Beale, Adam Pompey, Josh Curran, and Leivaha Pulu make up that Warriors squad prepping for that match. That's pretty much it for league news today. I'll be back tomorrow. Paul, I was just going to say, I can't often remember rugby league having that many players on the bench. I always thought there was around about 17 in the past. Usually they have your 13 starters and your sort of 4 interchange guys. So it obviously changed.
Yeah, it has changed it, because I think isn't the rolling. Some people who are down as rolling, and some people who are down as just one-off changes. So I think there's yes, they have changed their squad setup over there. And if you want to get up to date with all of your NRL news, and then do join us this evening at 8 p.m. for the standoff. I'm sure the boys will be covering all of the important things that have been going on over the last week, and looking forward to next round's games as well. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your updates this morning. Moving on then, and the NBL here in New Zealand is going global. Yes, Sal's NBL Showdown will be available on ESPN over on the States. All 56 games are going to be aired on ESPN 3, which will be fantastic for the exposure of the players who might be looking for college scholarships or other contracts as well. So great news there that our basketball players are going to get seen by more people over there. It's been a real fight by the organisation, by Justin Nelson and his organisation, to get this up and running, and it did get up and running last night. We kicked off with the Taranaki Mountaineers playing the Nelson Giants in a good game, and that came to 112-96 in the end was the final score for that one, and that was followed up by a bit of a one-sided game as the Canterbury Rams beat the expansion team, the Auckland Huskies, 102-70 there, with Toby Giluli top scoring for the Rams with 25 points. So great to see that they're underway. Obviously, those, if you're in New Zealand, you can catch those games on Sky Sports, and some of the weekend games on Sky Sports Extra as well over on YouTube. Over in netball news, and the Super Netball Shots or Super Shot has been rolled out, or has been announced to be rolled out in the Super Netball over in Australia. This has caused a lot of controversy. A Super Shot would be worth 2 points, not 1 point, and is a zone within the shooting circle. But the players have not been consulted about this, and this is only comes into act in the last 5 minutes of each quarter. So yes, adding extra levels of technicality to the game that is going to that could confuse the casual fans. In other changes that they're going to make, they're also going to have an extra 5 minutes overtime if there is a draw at the end of the game, and those super shots will be active for the entire 5 minutes. And they're also going to be introducing the rolling substitutions as well. So this is clearly a bunch of innovations over there for the netball. Not all of them going down going down well with the players, coaches, and fans. They have had other innovations before. They implemented the bonus points for the side that wins each quarter. So you get up to 4 bonus points in a game as well. So look, it is definitely a netball series that does innovate and try new things. Over in the tennis, and Djokovic has tested positive for COVID-19. This came after Dimitrov, Koric, and Triakic all tested positive. They had a positive test on the Saturday, but still continued with the second tournament on the on the 4 tournament Adria tour that Djokovic organised, and Djokovic was seen putting his arm around Koric, who he had been playing but hadn't tested positive at that point. And now Djokovic, as he's returned home back in Belgrade, has tested positive. All members of the family and team with whom he was travelling with are going to go into isolation now. He's not showing any symptoms. Other players, Zverev, Cilic, and Rublev have all tested negative, but are going to go into self-isolation for 14 days. With Croatia, easy gets lockdown measures. Players weren't required to carry out social distancing. We could see them playing basketball where there was definitely contact, putting arms around each other and giving each other hugs before and after games. So clearly the players not taking precautions there, and 4 players have all come down with COVID there. Over in cycling, and World Tour rider Kanis Starzin Sisov has tested positive for EPO and has been banned for 4 years. At the age of 37, obviously, that basically brings his career to a close, and he has retired from major competitions. Whilst he had not, his latest team had been Bahrain Merida, but he'd also been on Team Sky, Team Dimension Data, Team High Road, so Barlow World. So he'd been cycling at the absolute top level as a domestique in cycling. It shows that we do need to keep up testing, and what impact will lockdowns and COVID-19 have on the various sports, since those out of competition tests have not been able to take place as frequently. So let's hope that athletes look after their health and don't head down that route, but we would be foolish to think that it might happen with some. You have started the day the best way, up to date with the important sports news here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Don't forget, you can listen to us on the go. Just download the podcast, your favourite podcatcher, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Acast, or your favourite one. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio.